Hi, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you the steps to create a simple request-fully workflow on our product. So let's get started. First, we need to create a new workflow. We go to Workflows, click on New Workflow, and enter the name of the workflow, Request for Leave. Enter some description for this workflow to explain it to your employee. And click on Add New Workflow. A new workflow has been created and we are on the workflow design screen. So let's design our form first. We need a type of leave. So I'm going to change this one to type of leaves. Pay attention to code. Eventually we're going to use this a lot when we're designing the email and other things. I'm going to enter this one as PTO, the first option. The second option is 6. The third option is unpaid. And the fourth option is jury duty. And I want them to select unpaid by default, so I'm going to select this one and click on update. Next one, we need a date field to for the employee to specify the start date of their leave. Start date. Select the start date of your leave. And we would like to have that in a half screen, so I'm going to switch that to 2 column. So as you can see that the form is now appear in half of the screen. Let's copy this one and make it end date. End date. Select the end date of your leave. And I'm going to keep them the same. The start denote the required field, and we could easily change that to optional by going to validation and click on require or yes or no. So I'm going to keep them as end date is and start date is required. Third one, we need the manager who is going to approve the request for leave for this particular employee. I'm going to use the user dropdown. A user dropdown control allows us to show the list of users belong to our organization. So I'm going to select this one, Supervisor. And I'm going to select the supervisor who is going to approve your request. To show that is a little bit text here. And in this case, I'm going to limit the list of users to just 1 user for now, or 2 users for now. I will put Elizabeth Dixon, and another user is, let's say Bradley Canner. And now if you test the drop down, you will see there are 2 people in this list. The last one I would like to add here is a signature field for the employee to type their names in as a signature. So I'm going to change this one to employee signature. And I'm going to put the text here, enter your full name as the digital signature. And you can test this out over here. Let's say I'm going to put Jerry Anderson. You can see it will show up as this when we're previewing the field. So we're going to need the supervisor as well to sign the request for leave. So I'm going to copy this and make it as supervisor signature. Okay. So now let's save our changes so far and switch to design the flow for it. When a request get created, it's going to be in a draft mode, and we want the employee to fill in the form. And when they fill the form, they click on submit to submit request to the supervisor. I'm going to call this as submitted. Click on update. You could also change the name of the state, or the circle is called the state, or the ellipse called the state, and change the colors of that as well if you want to. So in this case, let me change the colors of this to something else. Like you can select font color is black, and then the colors of this I will select as an orange. Okay, it looks good. I'm going to move this submit. Arrow is an action to say from draft, if the employee click on submit, it's going to move to submitted. The state of the document is submitted. So I'm going to select this one as submitted. And you could also change the arrows or the icons. So I'm going to select this one is on the right, and make the buttons look different. You can see that the preview buttons show up in here. Next, when the request gets submitted to the supervisor, we will allow the supervisor to click on approve or reject or decline. So I'm going to create two states. One is decline, and I'm going to change this one to a red colors. That's a background. Keep this one as this. So the supervisor will take an action declined to move the items to decline state. So I'm going to add a new transition from submitted to declined and say decline. Make the button red and then put a thumb down. Decline. And another button from submitted to approve. I'm going to change this state to approve first. And when I check this approve is the exit state, there is no more actions any user can take from this state to move the document further. So I'm going to keep approve. I'm going to make it a little bit green. And let's change the color to white as well. Add an arrow from submitted to approve. Submitted to approve. And let the button's name say approve. Make it a green button. Add a thumbs up for it. As you can see the decline state from here, let's assume that there's no more action taken from declined. So we're going to make this one also is an exit state, meaning that no more action can be taken from this state. So as you can see right now, we have the flow set up. So let's save our changes and move on to create a role so that we can set a permission. So in this example, in this workflow, the person who create a document or initiate a document is called document owner. I'm going to change this one to employee to make it more relevant. And click on update. Add a new role called supervisor. This is going to be the person from the form that the user select or the employee selected. So I'm going to select individual specify in the following fields of the form. Select supervisor and click on update. Click on save changes. Let's move on to set permission for this workflow. So let's select one role after the other. Let's go with the employee who submit the request for leave. In this case, on the draft mode, we want him to be able to edit or be able to submit and edit everything here except for the supervisor signature, and so we're going to hide it. On a submitted state, this is when the request is on the desk of the supervisor. We will not allow the employee to click on allow or decline or approve, and he'll be able to view all of his fields except for the supervisor signatures. When a request is declined, the employee should not be able to click on anything. But because it is the last stage of the workflow, we don't see any action, just like the action over here. But I'm going to allow him to see all of the supervisor signatures and all. And lastly, I changed my mind. Let's not allow the employee to see the supervisor signatures. When the request is in approved state, the employee can click on, can see everything. So I'm going to click on view. As you can see, there's an option for the employee to comment on it. Let's move on to the second user or the second role, which is supervisor. On the draft state, this is the employee has not submitted his request to the supervisor for approval. I'm going to keep this one not allowed, and the field is hide. When it is on submitted, this is on his desk right now. I'm going to allow him to decline or approve, and I'm going to also allow him to comment on any of the fields and be able to cite the request here. On decline, I'm going to allow him to view only, and the same for approve. Save all the changes so far. Let's do one more cool thing, that when the in case of declined, the supervisor does not need to sign it. So I'm going to edit the decline, switch to validation, and exclude the supervisor signature. Click on update. Save our changes. And then let's go to design one trigger only. When an employee submits a request to the supervisor, we would like to notify the supervisor that he needs to take a look at this request, approve or decline. So we're going to create a new trigger, email notification, go to new trigger, and say that the title of this is owner. I'm going to use the name of the employee, so owner name, owner of the document has submitted a request for leave. I'm going to use a placeholder here, workflow name. In this case, workflow name is going to be request for leave. Therefore, it's going to substitute the values at runtime for your approval. And I'm going to put the content here. In this example, we are using the placeholder that's available to us. In order for us to enter the placeholder, we're going to just type something like curly brace, and then we see the list of placeholder. So in this case, I'm going to customize the message, say owner name has submitted for your approval. The information of the request is in following. I'm going to put type of leave, and I'm going to put type of leave name, from date, start date. To date, end date. As you can remember, we enter all of these, we remember all of this through the code of the field. So I'm going to put end date. To view and take action, please click on this link. I'm going to send this email to the supervisor. Click on update and save the workflow and publish. Let's now test our workflow. I now sign in as a Jerry Anderson. I am as an employee want to submit a request for leave. I click on new document here. Search for the workflow if I have any. And I'm going to click on create buttons to create a new request for leave. On this screen, I'm going to select I would like to have a PTO. The start day is next Monday, and the end day is going to be on Tuesday. 2 days leave. I'm selecting my supervisor as Elizabeth Dixon, and enter my name here. Select the day that I'm signing this, and click on Submit. Remember, when we design our workflow, we will send out a message to the supervisor to notify him about this event. In this case, as you can see, all of the field is now locked for Jerry Anderson. So let's switch to Elizabeth Dixon. As Elizabeth Dixon log into the system, she'll be able to see the list of items that we need to pay attention to and the recent documents that involve her in the process. In her inbox, she can click on the request for leave submitted by Jerry Anderson, click on this, and open it, review that, and decide approve or decline. Before that, I would like to show you the message that we sent out from the system. So let's refresh this as well. As you can see, the message sent out, Rethink Workflow. Jerry Anderson has submitted a request for leave for your approval. Remember, we use all of the placeholders. Now it has been replaced with the actual value at runtime. You can see it here. We have Jerry Anderson has submitted a request with the information is type of leave from the end-to date. It's already here. So you can quickly click on view to jump right into the document, or she can even take an action directly from here. So let's go back to our screen, and let's say we click on approve. It will ask her for the signature. So I'm going to put Elizabeth Dixon, and select the day that she signed today, then click on approve. Apart from that, Elizabeth can also see the items, the histories right here that show up to tell her what happens to this request. She can also see the list of documents assigned to her from this request for leave screen by click on view all. As you can see right now, her inbox is empty. And let's switch back to Jerry Anderson to see what he sees on his screens. If you go back to the workflow dashboard, he will see that, okay, his request has already been approved. He can click on it and see it again, and all of the permission has been applied here, all the field has been locked. He can see the history of that as well. Click here. That is an example of a quick tutorial to create a request for leave workflow. Thank you for paying attention.